Ooh, welcome back, guys. As you can see, the name of the video: the worst punishments in history of mankind. It's gonna be a heavy little episode, especially that thumbnail I think I'm picking, kind of close to the one this one came with. It's kind of crazy. As you guys know, people, I like history. I think I said that in one of my last reactions. But if you haven't seen it, check them out. I'm gonna try to do as many reactions as I can this year. A lot more videos. I'm gonna be grinding as much as I can. I'm trying to get to 1,500 subscribers. And I'm going to do a giveaway. I have a card already that I'm going to be giving away, a gift card. And it means a lot, all the support you put on my videos, every comment, like, and this means a lot. But without further ado, let's get into this. Thank you guys for everything you've been doing. We've been kind of going up this year so far, so thanks. Let's go.
Called starts his book Discipline and Punish: The Birth of the Prison with a chapter about an unfortunate Frenchman named Robert Francois Damiens.
Oh, if you guys got like a weak stomach or something, you might want to, I don't know why you clicked on this video, because as you can hear by the name, it's going to be kind of brutal. So
Damiens had tried and failed to assassinate King Louis XV, and for it he was severely punished. He was burned with molten wax and lead and had boiling oil poured into his open wounds. He was then quartered by horses pulling at his limbs, and then his torso was burned at the stake. Some of the crowd...
Wait, and he still didn't die from all that yet? Whoa. This shows how much the human body can take so much punishment, but
to assassinate King Louis XV, and for it he was severely punished. He was burned with molten wax and lead and had boiling oil poured into his...
He was burned, got oil put into the wounds.
Open wounds. He was then quartered by horses pulling at his limbs, and then his torso was burned at the stake. Some of the crowd cheered, but one commentator wrote, "I was several times obliged to turn away my face and to stop my ears as I heard his piercing shrieks, half of his body having been torn from him." Things slowly changed regarding the harshness of punishments, but today we'll look back at the brutal past. In this episode of the Infographic Show, the worst punishments in the history of mankind. We should explain that this list is in no particular order of nastiness, because you'll see that all these punishments meted out are barbaric to the nth degree. It would be hard to say which is the worst.
I need to wonder, skinned alive on here, because that just sounds horrible, like, ugh.
As they are all incredibly horrific. We'll let you decide which punishment you think is the most heinous. We will also add that some of you might believe that prolonged agony, such as solitary confinement for 20 years, might actually be worse than excruciating pain that lasts a few seconds or minutes before death. But we'll focus more on barbaric acts today. The rack. We'll start with one punishment you have all probably heard of. The rack was a fairly simple device consisting of a rectangular frame and a series of levers, pulleys, and ropes. There are different versions of the rack.
I think the rack and like the Iron Maiden are like the things that everybody actually knows about. I mean, and that I guess like the guillotine. I guess everybody knows about those three, but then some of these other ones, like that last thing that we heard out, ugh, fuck no.
Rack dating from antiquity to Middle Ages Europe. The idea was to stretch the prisoner by the joints until the muscles were torn and the joints popped. Eventually, all the joints would be dislocated. Hanged, drawn, and quartered. This is close to what happened to Damiens, but was better known as a very gruesome form of execution in Middle Ages England when someone had committed high treason, aka treason against the state. The prisoner would be hanged until almost dead, then he would be taken down and disemboweled while still alive, and also have his manhood cut from his body.
Jesus Christ, you guys are people back then were on some bullshit, I swear. Like, I mean, like now we say, oh, putting people, the death penalty is horrible. I mean, and you say, oh, I thought we were more. Imagine, see what people be doing back then. Oh my god, I can't even speak right now thinking about that. I'm like, yo, put me in the chair, put that lethal injection in me right now. I'm not getting hung, and then right before you died, give you a bit of air, you live a little bit, and then they just like cut you open. Yeah, nah.
Would then be chopped into pieces, and often his head was chopped off and hung someplace where the public could see it. The punishment was abolished in England in 1870. Judas chair, also known as Danny's chair or Judas cradle. It's not known exactly when this was used, but there are sketches of it in existence, and it also is on display in some museums. This gruesome device was a chair with a sharp-pointed pyramid shape on the seat of the chair. Websites writing about medieval history tell us people would be sat atop this spike and lowered by ropes, which was extremely painful as it entered the orifice. But sometimes they would be dragged down on it with the use of weights, while application of oil would make things worse.
This shows that people can People can take stuff way far.
They would die slowly as they were further lowered, or perhaps die even more slowly from infection. This could take hours or days, according to 2 sources we found. Some sources say it was used during the Spanish Inquisition, but other sources refute that. Boiling. Again, we turn to England, and this time to the 1500s. It said the often irascible King Henry VIII made this a form of capital punishment, but it seems to also have been popular at some point in time all around Europe and Asia.
From what I hear about, if you guys don't know anything about like history, you probably picked on this. I really like history and everything, but this dude, he's gonna get a divorce, right? So he got all his wives killed and stuff, and like. And he was cheating on them anyway, so I mean, you know, he's like, I'm a good Christian man, so I don't want to get a divorce. So he just ended up killing them or saying they cheated and so, I don't know. People can justify whatever they want sometimes, but you can't justify being a piece of shit. That's all you gotta say. I mean, you can.
As you can guess, the torture and usually the eventual death was a result of someone being boiled alive in a large cauldron or kettle full of water, oil, or tar. The Catherine wheel. Also known as the breaking wheel, it's thought this simple method of bodily destruction was used mainly in the 18th and 19th centuries in Europe and parts of Asia. The French writer Voltaire writes about the punishment in a book published in the 18th century. Prisoners were tied and splayed on a large wooden wheel. The executioner would then take a heavy object, sometimes an iron cudgel, and break the person on the wheel until the body was completely almost in pieces. Sometimes, however, it would take a few days for the victims to die from their injuries. The head crusher. This should be self-explanatory.
Yo, I don't know, but this makes me feel like we've come a long way. People think, I mean, people are still crazy and brutal and horrible people, but knowing that these things got like abolished and like you can't do that for legally reasons, it shows that we've evolved as people. But like, this is still, and some of these are not even that long ago, like maybe 200 years ago. People crazy.
Explanatory. Imagine a metal dish strapped to your skull and a metal plate under your chin. You can't move as it is all secured. The dish can be lowered using a large screw that can be turned. As it lowers, it breaks the bones in your head and eventually crushes the skull. We can't find too many reliable sources telling us when this was used, but again, it's thought it was a contraption of the Middle Ages. History.com tells us it was a real thing, and it appears in a book called The Big Book of Pain, Torture and Punishment Through History. Flaying. If you've seen Game of Thrones, you'll be familiar with this punishment. The torture comprises of cutting off all of a person's skin, although it's said in China sometimes it was just the facial.
Okay, I don't know. A lot of people be like loving that show very much, but nah, not me. I mean, I got through 3 seasons. I was like, I couldn't really get into it. I love like the time period stuff, but I don't know. It felt like a chore more than anything. I don't even know what it was. I couldn't really get into it, but I like The Witcher and stuff. It's kind of like it, but I don't know. It's a little bit different. I don't know, but it's not my thing.
Skin. Sometimes the person may have been burned first to make the cutting easier, or just perhaps to add more nastiness. It was around as late as the 18th century, and Michel Foucault discusses it in gory detail in the book we mentioned, Discipline and Punish. It's said the English did it to thieves in the 13th century, but such punishment happened all over the world throughout the ages. It's said that the Chinese Emperor Hongwu ordered the flaying of 5,000 women in 1357.
If this is like an actual number, I mean, it probably is true. Like, you never know, like, because like, you know, I think around that time they still recorded like their information. I think that's like they've been doing that for a while, like recording their information. So that's probably probably not even exaggerating at all. He probably did that stuff. I doubt they would lie about a man doing that, because that shit would happen to them. You know what I mean? Especially like emperor. So.
Although a book called Skin and Bones puts the date at 1396. Death by 1,000 cuts. Sticking with China and a similar period comes this brutal torture. Damn. Also known as Lingqi, a book called Death by 1,000 Cuts says it was a common form of punishment in China in the 14th century, but was around in the country for many centuries. The prisoner's entire body would be sliced, but it would take a long time to die, as you would expect from small slices. But nothing was spared from the knife, and eventually this would kill the unfortunate victim. However, while this form of punishment became infamous outside of China, some historians tell us that it wasn't as prolonged as some people originally said, and that some of those cuts actually meant dismemberment, making death arrive faster. Sawing. Looking at sketches of this from the...
Yeah, I'm definitely making it. I saw this on the cover. This is definitely the... Jeez. and I heard something about this that like you would survive like all the way to like the middle of your stomach, like around this area. Like, I would, people probably would pass out. Like I would have passed. I'm being 100% honest with you. The second they hang me upside down, pull that thing out, I'm out. But then, yo, that would, I can't deal with that.
The 15th century, it is in some ways the most barbaric as it's so basic. A person is hanged upside down from some gallows with their legs forming a V shape. Two men would then take a large saw and cut the man in half from his groin area. He would apparently live through much of this. According to one source we can find, this was only infrequently used in medieval Europe and in China, where sawing horizontally through the middle was an alternative. Looking around the web, sawing took all.
This shit making me hurt all over. I'm sorry, I keep moving like this because this is making me hurt all over now. I'm personally the type of person I am. I like to push people's buttons. If anyone who knows me is watching this, you know I like to feel people out. I'll kind of be. I can come off as an asshole, but like I like to feel people out, and back then that would have definitely got me in trouble. Let's say I like pushing people's buttons. It's kind of fun to me. You know, it's kind of mean, but hey.
All kinds of forms all over the world during many centuries. In any case, people were sawed apart, but the method may have taken many forms. Rats. You might be thinking right now, what on earth was wrong with people in the past that enacted or even endorsed such behavior? Because humans understand pain so well, were we not blessed with a built-in morality? If you haven't already thought that, perhaps you will in a second, as death by rats really takes the biscuit. It was apparently used in medieval Europe and China. Some sources tell us that starved rats are poured into a box with a naked prisoner and they slowly eat the person. Other sources say the belly of the person is first partially opened so the rats can get at the insides. It's written about in a 1931 book called Merrily I Go to Hell, Reminiscences of a Bishop's Daughter. Another book called The Dictionary of Torture tells us that this happened in Germany.
They really got a dictionary of torture. This shows you what type of... Personally, this is... I don't think people should be on Earth right now. I mean, if you think about it, if you look at scientifically, we've probably got another 5,000 years to a couple thousand years I looked up, and it says about that, because all the human species that lasted before lasted around a little less than we have, or a little bit more than we have right now, and the way things have been going around people, like, we can't even get along with certain people. So if like aliens came or some crap, I'll be like, yo, you need to go. I mean, if you're like less advanced than us, you need to go, because we hate it. We hate people just like, you're green, like, nigga, you green. They don't trust people for like, if they're black, white people, no one cares. So if some green dude comes, like, we can have all peace, like, you know, we're all human. An alien comes, they're like, oh my god, he's not human, so we can hate him. Yeah, I'm sorry, people want
Germany. Yet another book tells us that in China, the rat would be trapped on a victim's stomach under a metal pot. This pot would be heated until the rat had no other choice than to try and gnaw its way through the person's body. We can't say what the outcome of this would be, and perhaps it's not so plausible that a rat could eat its way through a body. Some of the sources that say that was the case don't offer evidence of it happening that way. So
what do you guys think about people? I mean, you know, put a comment. What do you think? People horrible or not? I put my thoughts out, kind of things that are in my mind. I have a weird mind, but I don't think people are that... I just hope people can get their crap together, because people aren't... From what I see, people aren't really... I don't know. People aren't good. I'm trying to not say in a very horrible way. That makes it sound like a psychopath, but people aren't good. You can see me trying to think not to say something that will make me seem like a horrible person. If this is your first time seeing me, I'm sorry, but like, subscribe, help me get to 1,500 subscribers. I'm going to try to be as honest as I can. Let me just say, people suck, and goodbye. Oof.